I took media studies because I want to have a more insight for target audiences when I start like a business career in my future life.
I picked media because I wanted to further my knowledge on media, and media also opens so many pathways to other different careers.
Because it's something new and it would help me with being a presenter in the future.
I took media because it opens lots of opportunities for me in the future.
I took media because I enjoy creating films and looking at media films.
I took media because I really want to learn how to make films and how to progress in the future, and I also want to do acting, so it could be a really good side job if I want to make films and make different types of media and stuff.
I took media because I want to go into the film industry and the makeup artist part.
I picked media studies because I didn't know what else to pick. No, I'm joking. I loved it. I love the concept of film. I really want to get into the acting in the film industry. So taking this is great, not just for film, which is my favourite part, but you also learn about print media, how it's distributed, why it's distributed, and it can teach you a lot about modern society.
My favourite bit about media is kind of looking into films and the different sets and props and how they make it and entice you to watch the films.
My favourite part of media was when we got to make these magazine posters, and we had to put in so many different headlines for this gossip magazine.
My favourite part of media is when we're looking at the film aspect and all the different theories that come along with it.
Hi, right, Miss Webb here, just to talk to you about the GCSE course here at Deer Park. So, what is media studies? What does it look like? What are we going to do? We're going to get into all of that in this video. The first thing that we are going to talk about today is the fact that media studies is split into 4 key frameworks. Media language is the first one, media representation is the second one, media audience next, and then the media industry last. So we look at all different types of media through these 4 frameworks. I'm going to go into a bit more detail about what each one means so you can have a bit more understanding. So media language is all about how a piece of media communicates with its audience. What is it trying to tell us? What do we understand through this advert? What do we understand through this camera angle? Things like that. This is where we really look at the relationship between a piece of media and human beings. And that is a two-way relationship. What do we get out of it versus what do they, as the media product, get out of it? We look at this through year 9, 10 and 11. It never stops. We never stop talking about media language. The next one I'm going to talk about is media representation, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's how different things are represented through the media. So what is represented through the media? How has that changed over time? Think about sort of historical and cultural differences in terms of representation. Does anyone get left out? And we talk about sort of the issues in representation and the lack of representation sometimes. We look at stereotypes. You'll be asked to challenge your own beliefs in regards to stereotypes. So it's really interesting. When we talk about media audience, we're talking about how different audiences are categorized. What are the different audiences? How are they categorized? How are we influenced as an audience? What do audiences get from a media product? And we look at this again through all different types of media, whether that's moving image or radio or video games. What's the effect of that media product on us as an audience? And the last framework is all about media industry. So how are products produced and distributed? So we spend a lot of time looking at the film industry. We talk about budgets and we look at different business models for film and essentially how do media companies work as a business? How do they operate? Okay, so those are the key frameworks. We are assessed on those 4 frameworks in 2 ways. So we have exams and we have non-exam assessment. So you have 2 exams at the end of year 11. They are both worth 35%, meaning that your exams are worth a total of 70% of your final grade. Paper 1 is an hour and a half long and you get 9 questions. Paper 2 is also an hour and a half long and you get 5 questions. So paper 2 is shorter in terms of the amount of questions, but you do have to write an extended response. So both question paper 1 and 2, you'll have to write short form answers. What is the definition of this, etc. But then you will also have to do a form of analysis. Okay. As well as your exams, you also have your NEA, which is your non-exam assessment, otherwise known as coursework, essentially. And how that works is in year 10, you're given a selection of briefs. There's typically about 6, and you pick one of those briefs. So on the screen, you can see a variety of different briefs on there. You can see one says creating a working homepage and one linked page for a website promoting a new community-based streaming radio service. You'll see it tells you all about the target audience there. You've got your minimum requirements, so you must have an original title and a logo. You have to have a minute of audio involved on that website. But it could be anything. You could have to make a front cover, you could have to make a video, and that's your practical piece of assessment. We do that in year 10, as I said, and you are given a variety of briefs that you can choose from. The briefs change every year, so whatever you see up on the screen is not necessarily what you will see when you come to sit your NEA. And your NEA is worth 30% of your exam, of your final grade. So 70% is your exam, 30% is your NEA assessment. And essentially what you're being assessed on with your coursework is your ability to produce a piece of media. So in your exams, it's how well have you understood the media, how well can you analyse the media, but your practical, well, yes, I've understood it, but here I am producing it. I've understood it so well that I can actually recreate it for a specific audience, a specific purpose. Okay. The coursework's really fun because you get to learn how to use industry standard software. So if you were interested in pursuing a career in the media that required editing skills, then you are starting off sort of already learning those skills in year 9. And we do that in the very first term. We start looking at some of the software. As well as looking at unseen pieces of media text. So in your exam, there'll be bits of text that you've never seen before. In terms of media, you'll be shown a video that you've never seen before, and you'll have to look at those 4 frameworks. So language, representation, audience, and industry. You have to use those frameworks to analyse a piece of media text. We're also given a variety of texts that we study beforehand, and they are called our close study products, or CSPs for short. At the moment, there's currently 18, and we look at them and we study them in great detail. We talk about how they communicate with their audience. We talk about who their intended audience is. We talk about what representation we can see, and we'll look at it in terms of industry. We also look at it in terms of the context, so the historical, social, cultural, political context of the time. So it's essentially an anthology of pieces of media that you'll have to learn about before you go into your exam. And those are then used to compare with an unseen piece of media text when you get there. Essentially, that is a whistle-stop tour of everything that we include here at Deer Park in Media Studies. Of course, if you want to know any more details, then you can come and speak with me and you can ask any questions. But this is a general overview of what it looks like and what you're working towards and what your exam or your assessment looks like at the end. So if you're really interested in learning about human beings and how we interact with media and the influence that media has, and learning about business strategies in terms of the media industries, if you want to learn about representation and different audiences, then this is definitely something that you should consider. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing who picks Media Studies.